Hi friends, Kurt here with Gunnison. Today is going to be a big ride. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to make 2 or 3 videos out of it for you. But before we take off, I wanted to talk about Colorado in October. So this is going to be the biggest ride probably that I've done yet. And it's mid-October, and it seems like frequently this time of the year, people get surprised. They get surprised by altitude and freak storms. You can have tiny little storms that aren't even on the weather forecast at altitude that can just shut you down. I've been completely snowed out this time of the year unexpectedly in horrible wet blizzards. So, word to the wise. In Colorado, you always want to be prepared. So today, I am going to do a safety check on the bike. I do that before every big ride, and that means tire pressure, checking the oil, checking the coolant, checking the brake fluid levels, making sure that all the bolts are tight, everything's locked down just the way it ought to be. I'm going to do that right before the ride here in a minute. And then I'm also taking with me today full winter gear. And I hope I don't have to pull it out of the pack. But if something happens and I find myself having to spend the night at altitude tonight, then I want to make sure I can survive it. So I am taking stocking cap, neck warmer. I'm taking a fleece. I'm taking a puffy in addition to all my riding gear that's waterproof. I am taking food. I'm taking first aid. I'm taking a whistle. I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes you can find yourself in a situation where you can't yell loudly enough, and a whistle will carry where a voice won't. So if you need help, you can whistle an SOS. I am taking a little bit of first aid, though it's just my own theory. The stuff I would need for a big injury, I can't really carry. So I'm taking just a little bit of first aid, and if I have a bigger injury, you know, if anyone has a bigger injury, then you just kind of have to make do somehow with what you can find around you. Food, 2 liters of water. And today's ride is going to be really, really cool, but I'm ready for something to go wrong, and I'm going to ride as if it never does. So that's important this time of the year in Colorado. You can really get yourself in trouble. And today we are going to be going to altitude, and that is conditions allowing. It was 23 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, and I've been waiting for it to warm up. Right now it's in the mid-30s, and the sun is warm. So within about 30 minutes, I think we're going to be ready to rock. I didn't want to go out before any ice on the roads had a chance to thaw. The frost on the roads can be surprising, obviously. So here's today's route. I'm going to head north, and I want to take you to Mill Creek. But on the way to Mill Creek, instead of just taking the normal road, which would be the Ohio Creek Road, I'm going to go a back way, which gets us into a neat kind of hidden valley not a lot of people know about. There can be mud problems in this valley, but it's not really that technical of a ride. But it should be pretty. And then we'll drop into Mill Creek on the backside, and I want to show you what that looks like. I've mentioned before the Palisades, the breccia bluffs that are just so astounding around Gunnison County, and like I mentioned, that's all volcanic deposits that have weathered away, and so we're going to go there. It should be really, really beautiful. Then I'm going to go back out to Ohio Creek Road, and a little way up that road, it turns into Ohio Pass Road. It turns into dirt, and it goes over a nice pass, probably around 11,000 feet. And then I'll have to look that up. And then I'm going to take Kebler Pass from there back down into Crested Butte. I'm going to stop off in Crested Butte to refuel the tank, because I have that small tank on this bike. And then I'm going to head up through Gothic. So that means I'm going past the ski area and into Gothic, Colorado, which is a cool little quasi-ghost town. I mean, there are a few people that are still there, but what's neat about it is that it's a scientific biological laboratory where they're studying what happens in high alpine settings. So that's kind of cool. And then past Gothic, we're going to go all the way to Schofield Pass. And the road through there is not bad. Passenger vehicle can make it. On the other side of Schofield Pass, though, I want to drop all the way down into Crystal, Colorado. And I have not ridden this, nor have I been over it in a 4x4. I've heard it can be pretty sketchy, so we're going to find out today. And I'm riding alone, so that means if it gets too sketchy, I'll probably turn around and wait for when I have someone with me. But anyway, it's beautiful. Really, really neat part of northern Gunnison County. And then on the way back, there's a little dogleg up a basin I'm going to try to get into. And that's called North Pole Basin. But I'm not sure if I can get in or not, because the roads may be blocked off. But we'll find out. And then I also plan to turn and go over another pass called Cinnamon. It's not Cinnamon Pass, but it's Cinnamon Mountain. And I don't know what the name of the pass is, but it goes right by Cinnamon Mountain, and it will drop you down into, I believe it's called Pittsburgh, and Obie Joyful area, and Washington Gulch. And then should come back out in Crested Butte. So kind of a big ride. It's about 120 miles or so, which I know doesn't seem that far, but it's all going to be on back roads for the most part. And that's today's ride. So hey, we're going to have fun, be prepared, and the scenery today is going to be astounding. Thanks for joining us.
Well, it turned out that this was even a much bigger ride than I thought, so I'm breaking it up into several episodes. Thought I would show you a quick map of today's route to Mill Creek. Mill Creek has some iconic, huge cliffs, just a beautiful setting. I can't wait to share it with you. But the way you get there, north of Gunnison, there is a road called Ohio Creek Road, which is on the left. You go up that just a little bit, and then you get to Road 818, hang a left there, and you wind yourself over a low pass and then up a valley. So there are other ways to Mill Creek much more directly by staying on Ohio Creek Road. But this back way is little known, and it's just a lovely ride through some BLM land and some forest land. And one word of advice, crazy, crazy mud. If it's wet, don't attempt it. It's just not worth it. It is grease snot. But that is today's ride. Can't wait to share it with you, and thanks for watching.
We're started now.
So the mountain on the right that's flat is called Flat Top, and just to the left of it you can barely make out Red Mountain, and then right where that telephone pole just crossed, that conical mountain is Mount Carbon, 12,000 feet tall.
Just pulled off to make sure the GoPro is doing right things. That bridge a little bit ago. I got caught up here this summer in a torrential downpour with hailstones and lightning bolts, and this part of the road wasn't too bad, but the road on up here had rutted out, and there were rivers and rivers of water going down the road. And this is the part of Gunnison where the road is greasy clay. So the tires gum up, and then you might as well be on ice. Now you can see some of the muddy tracks here. Today is dry, thankfully. The lightning bolts were striking on these ridges around me as I went, and hailstones are bouncing off my helmet and my riding gear, and flash bang, you know? Not any time between the strike and the sound. It was right there beside me. A little bit more adventure than I had been looking for. Cross over this little shoulder here, and then we'll see the valley behind. Now, I've been trying to remember the name of this valley, and I think it might be Antelope Creek or Antelope something. I mean, lower in the valley there's a subdivision called Antelope Hills. I'm gonna have to look that up. Over this shoulder right here, then you'll see a mountain with some aspen and some pines on it. That's McIntosh. I've done quite a bit of riding up on McIntosh there, and it gets fairly techy. A lot of baby heads and some really steep places. Big loose rock and steep roads. A little bit of a challenge. That mountain on the horizon, in the far horizon, is called Sawtooth. We can't really see it for the clouds right now, but you're also looking at Uncompahgre, which is a 14er in the San Juan Mountains, way off in the background. It's been snowing up there, so the mountain peak is white, so are the clouds, so kind of camouflaged. Man, I love a great morning ride like this. I want you to get to see how this valley kind of opens up. Then I'm going to pause the camera for a bit so we get into something interesting. I'll take you on a ride up McIntosh so you can see how beautiful it gets up there. I'm hoping that the passes won't be snowed out today. It's been about a week since the high peaks got snow, and so you to see where we are. It's starting to get a little more interesting here. So Carbon Street in front of us and Whetstone to the right. On, I believe it was the lower right part of Carbon is where the coal used to be mined a long time ago. And which I mentioned on a previous video, it seems strange to be at altitude in Colorado and for there to be those kind of sedimentary deposits, but there are in this part of Colorado, kind of topped with volcano. So a long time ago, this was marshland and inland sea, and then with plate tectonics and volcanic activity, everything started going up, and now Gunnison's at 7,700 feet. And not only is Gunnison at 7,700 feet, but we've already climbed more than 1,000 feet above that. So we're approaching probably about 9,000 feet here. And like I said, that volcano was nearly 20,000 feet tall. kind of a low inland sea marshland at one point, and now it's that high above sea level. Gunnison 5 years ago, people would talk about Gunnison country, and I never really knew what that meant. It sounds cool, but now I've begun to realize Gunnison country is distinct. It's different than other parts of Colorado. Such a beautiful mix of kind of high semi-arid desert, and then montane, and then alpine above, and we're going to see all of that today. So the area where we are right now is considered montane. It's where the flora and fauna that you would find in the plains kind of mix with what you would find in the mountains. By the way, if you didn't see the first episode, or if you couldn't understand it, hear it. The aspen are past the peak already, but in different places you get different mixes, so a lot of the leaves have fallen off. But through there you can see we had green and yellow mixed, so they're not quite done yet. This is mid-October, kind of late. Usually the aspen are done by now. Previous years, the aspen would peak out like the last weekend or maybe even the third weekend of September. The last couple of years, it's been the first weekend of October or maybe the second weekend of October. Yes, I did miss shift right there. Okay, so we're kind of getting to the place where you can see some of these bigger peaks. You know, by next weekend, those could all be white again. They've already been white this year, but it was a thin cover and the sun melted off. Here on the left, you can see a hunter's camp. My family and I camped up that road. I believe it was that one a while back in the summer, and we climbed a pretty steep little mountain. When we got to the top, the back side of the mountain was hollow. That's because that breccia had just caved off. Oh, now we're getting into some beautiful stuff. Look at that. So the cliffs that you see behind the aspen, that's Mill Creek. It's not the actual creek, it's just the name of the valley. There's some waterworks in there where they redirected the creek, and I don't know if it was for irrigation or if it was for the mill. I'd like to learn more about it, but clearly there is a mill there. We come out of Mill Creek. Look at that. Wow. This is why I wanted to bring you here today. The cliffs on the right were on the front of the Gunnison National Forest map. And I saw it years ago. I've been looking at it for most of my life, but I had no idea where it was. And one day I came up this little road and got to Mill Creek and saw it there. Amazing. See a couple of houses there in the valley. So we're leaving, I believe this was forest land that we passed through, just a little of it there, back into BLM and then private property. I may repeat myself a little bit because I don't know which episodes you've seen. Something crazy about Gunnison County is something like 90% of it is public lands, meaning that it's owned by all of us in common via the national government. A little state land here and there too, but only something like 10%, which is amazing to me, 10% of Gunnison is actually privately owned, Gunnison County. So I went left so we can go up the Mill Creek Valley here a little bit. It's just going to be an out and back, not going to go all that far. Matter of fact, we hit a wilderness area right up here, so we would not be going far anyway. Wilderness is designated as machinery free. Not even a bicycle can go into wilderness. Only backpacks, horses, and mules. See the little cabin on the right? Somebody is perched on the edge of paradise. Probably going to be on a lot of road like this later on today. You can see the sign on the other side of the gate. That's where the wilderness area begins, I believe, near there. We need to take a stroll. My sons and I decided to take a afternoon hike, and my middle son had some tests to study for, so he wanted to get out, but he didn't want to spend too much time. We walked up this valley and then got past a little bit of private property here, and then we headed up in there. We ended up climbing to the top of that mountain, going to the right where you see the aspen. And those cliffs were just so spectacular, but we had to do some pretty sketchy rock climbing to get up to where we were, so we thought we would hike to the middle where you see the green forest going up the valley between the cliffs, and that we could hike down through those trees. But it turned out, once we got up there, that we were cliffed out almost everywhere. And there was fresh fallen snow. It was slippery, steep, and it got later and later and later. And I didn't realize it, but it was kind of the first time that my sons Daniel and Luke had been on an adventure where you didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. I guess we sort of had an adventure like that when they were littler, but, you know, as young men, it got pretty sketchy. We could have slid on the snow and gone off a cliff, or had to spend the night up there, and the temperatures would have been horribly, horribly cold. But we kept on picking our way through the snow and the ice and the gravel and the scree and the cliffs, and we came out the bottom. Had to hike out in the dark after that. Just barely got out of the cliffs before it was dark. And I decided that that hike is not for the faint of heart, and if anyone wants to do it, they should take all the gear they might need to spend the night, because you can get trapped up there easily.
Thanks so much for listening to episode 3, Iconic Mill Creek. In the next episode, we will go and explore all around Mount Carbon, and I'm calling that episode Up Carbon Creek Without a Paddle. See you there.